Okay, you guys, I put on a collared shirt for today's topic. Damn, this button almost came off. I put on a collared shirt for today's topic. I want to talk about career, just like go through career tips. I would say a lot of these are more mindsets than tactical advice, but they've helped me a ton in my career. Um, and to be very specific, this is for people that are like early in their career, that are relatively junior. I would not say these are for more senior folks, but just to establish quick credibility, the typical promotion path for my current role or my last promotion is like 2 to 3 years, and I did it in a year and 2 months. And I think some of the mindsets that I'm going to share today help with that. And what's more important to me and maybe less important to you is what actually I did after that promotion, which is I've been way more intentional about crafting sort of the lifestyle I want. 2 years ago, I spent 6 weeks in Italy. Last year, I spent 6 weeks in Peru. I've also been to like Korea and Kenya and like different places in the world because travel has been really important to me. I've been able to move to Chicago, which is a huge upgrade for me over New York, just because the city's a lot cleaner, lower cost of living. And I will say, like, there's a lot of luck involved in any form of success or any like just like having just luck is involved in life, right? So I'm not going to take full credit for all these things, but I will say um, across the early promotion, across being able to craft the life that I want through my career, I would that's the credibility. Sorry, I'm hammering on this too much. So I'm gonna go from there into just like one broader tip that actually relates to what I just shared. Then I'll go into a few mindsets that help me early on in terms of performance. I'll run through relationships, and then I'll touch on promotion because it's promotion. It's on everyone's mind. But okay, the first thing for me, two mindsets that I really want to convey around career. The first is that your career should be a tool that helps you craft the lifestyle, the financial mix, the impact, the personal development that you want. It shouldn't just be like career for career's sake. I think a lot of us feel like when we start our careers, we need to go as fast and as high as possible. And I would push back on that notion heavily because your career doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in the context of your life. If you prioritize speed and height in your career, it comes with the trade-off from other things, right? For example, me being able to travel to Italy and Peru and these other places has certainly slowed down my next promotion. But for me, that was very intentional. I didn't care. I was getting the money I wanted. I was getting paid what I wanted. And that allowed me to have the balance that I wanted as well and not feel like, oh, work is taking away from my life because I live on this huge planet and I'm only spending all my time at my desk, right? I'm actually able to go out and see things. So there's that personal development. As you step into management roles, I do think it forces you to go through a little bit of personal development. Financial is pretty straightforward. Impact, are you in a nonprofit role? Are you in like a more like technology forward role because you're interested in AI and some of the tech stuff that's going on and so on? Like your career ultimately should be a tool to craft the lifestyle, the impact, the financial mix, the personal development that you want is really what I want to convey. And one other point in that is like you would pick up a hammer to hit a nail, but you would never stress about the hammer. You would never stress about the tool, right? This thing's too heavy. It's like blah, blah, blah. You would just put it down if the tool is not serving you, and you would find another tool. And look, in your career, you're going to have stressful periods. You're going to have late nights. You're going to have like projects where it's forcing you to pick up new skills that you don't really know well. And that's fine. But if over time your career continues to stress you out, often that's a sign of incongruence between your current life and the life that you want. It could be because your career is taking up too much time. You're not getting enough time with your family. It's affecting your health, all these different things. So just keep that in mind. If your career is stressing you over an extended period of time, it might not be the right tool. Or you might not be using it well. It might not be the right tool. Like consider other career paths and so on, right? The second mindset that really helped me is that your career happens over time. So the time that I realized this actually was between my internship and restarting full time in my current job. So at the end of my internship, I got a full time offer, and I went to someone really senior in our firm and I said, "Hey, I've got a year. I'm going back to do my MBA. It's not that serious. Like, how can I prepare, come back a better consultant?" And what he said to me was, "Suraj, you have 40 years to build yourself as a consultant. You have your entire career to do that. This year, just like go do some stuff that you haven't done before." And I took that advice to heart. I used that year to start a podcast that led me to a lot of really interesting friends and interesting experiences, and it even won an award. And then I used that year to start flying planes a little bit. Like I didn't get my license, unfortunately, but I did spend quite some time like flying Piper Cherokee planes, which was really fun and something I look back on and something I talk about all the time. So certainly, like, your career is something that happens over time. And this also reinforces the point about the tool, right? Like, don't feel like you need to do everything at once. There will be years when you take pay cuts because you're going to a more interesting role. There will be years where you slow down your promotion cycles because you want to go experience life, like go travel, or maybe you just like you have a health thing going on and you want to prioritize yourself. But when you keep that in mind, that it happens over time, it takes some of the pressure off. Look, once you hit those senior roles, you're going to be in there for as long as you want. So there's no rush to get there, in my opinion. Maybe financial is like the one sort of motivating factor where it's worth it to move a little bit more quickly because of compound interest and that kind of thing. But just be mindful of your goalpost moving, lifestyle creep, that kind of thing, right? Think about how much money you need and then aim for that with your career. And if you make more, great. But don't blindly just take the next raise because it comes with more responsibility. It comes with more obligation. Are those two words redundant? Yeah. But you get the point. Okay. Enough about that. I'm going to start going through sort of the mindsets that help me with performance. Basically three things. One of them is tied to a lot of tactical stuff. So let's start there. So when you start, you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know that I didn't know what I didn't know in the beginning, but I figured that out pretty quickly. And I think a lot of us have this inclination when we start a job. We want to prove ourselves. We want to do a really good job. And I get that. What I would say is in those roles or in those situations, do not try to go above and beyond. It takes 3 to 6 months to ramp up on anything for you to understand what is going on. And you can't mess up by doing things that are handed to you and doing them really well and knocking them out of the park. You can mess up by trying to do too much because you might not do it well, right? So an example of this I'm just pulling from consulting is if you try to get in front of a client too quickly before you've fully been like versed on or caught up on the frameworks that your company uses and so on, because you can say the wrong thing, right? And that's just one example, but I've just noticed so often that when people come in because they want to prove themselves, they try to go too quickly, they try to do too much, and you can piss off your manager, you can deliver something incorrectly. There's a lot of mistakes. And look, I made that mistake, but I realized it very quickly. And so what I did instead is I went to the associates, even though I started as a senior associate, and I basically said, "Hey, you guys have been with the company longer. Please just manage me for the next couple months, or just show me what you're doing, like loop me in as much as you can as you do things." And I just learned from them very quickly. And then there was a natural inflection point where I could just take over. So because I had learned what they knew, and I had sort of the skill set for the next level. But anyway, to summarize that, when you start off, spend more time observing than you do like sort of knocking things out of the park, and just be humble and let the inflection point sort of come naturally. In that vein, the number one tactical thing I think you can do early on is just take amazing notes. Like any call you're on, it doesn't matter who's speaking, what's being said, just take really good notes. My typing speed was not good when I started. It got good. It got decent. It got better. And the reason for this is because you're often working with people that may have decades in the industry or within the company, that kind of thing. You're not going to help them on a technical aspect, right? Unless you were brought in like as a SME, but if you're early in your corporate career, I'm guessing that's not you. So you're going to help them, for example, by, if they don't remember something from a call, by having really good notes and saying like, hey, I have the info, I know what was discussed, that kind of thing. And you don't know what's relevant when you start off, so I would just literally take down everything. If someone asked for the notes, clean them up and send them over. But like when I started, I took down notes on everything, and I cannot stress the number of times someone asked me for something later and I was like, oh, don't worry, I've got the notes for this, and I was able to pull them out. I know it sounds really basic, but it's one of those things that gets overlooked a lot, or someone might be taking notes but they're not taking good notes. So that's, I would say, tactically, take really good notes. And in that vein, also just like find your value add early on. Again, you're working with people that may have decades in the industry, in the company. Your value add could be taking good notes and formatting decks really well. Or if there are things that your manager doesn't have time to do, see if you can take on things from them. So one thing is like, I was able to, once I got caught up on the technical side of things in my current role, I was able to take on calls very quickly from my manager because I had the interview experience from podcasting that actually translated really well into like pacing calls with a client and that kind of thing, right? So find sort of the things that they don't have time for. Another example of that right now that's probably very relevant to a lot of people is your manager is working across so many things. They're probably fully booked on X, Y, and Z. They don't have the time to get read up on things like AI. So you can go take the time, find the opportunities to apply those tools within your current role, and it'll be appreciated. For sure, it'll be appreciated. Because it also helps them as they see what you're doing, as they see the implementations, it helps them say, oh, okay, this is like how these things work. And it helps them learn is what I'm getting at. But saying it in a very complicated way. Okay, it helps them learn. Cool. Second, know the language of your industry. And so the way I did that is like, essentially, as I started working, I would write down any words that I didn't know, and then I just kept a log. And whenever I had time, I would go Google one or two of those words. It's helpful to Google two at a time over one because it helps you connect concepts. So if you know there's two related terms that you don't know, look them up together, because then you can find the linkage. It'll cement it in your brain better. And the thing that learning the language does is it's essentially two things. One, it gets you caught up on the technical aspects, on the knowledge aspects of your job. Essentially, language acts as a curriculum. And nowadays you have tools like ChatGPT where you can ask it to structure a curriculum and just like teach you. Use the deep research feature. It'll generate reports. If you don't have a pro license or for your personal ChatGPT, I would say you're probably missing out and possibly even falling behind, because there are people that are using those tools on a daily basis. But the second thing that knowing the language allows you to do is that it allows you to speak in a way that someone more experienced might speak. So it gives people more confidence in your knowledge. And in fact, I would say that's fair, because if you're using the terminology appropriately, that is a sign that you understand what you're talking about, right? So just as you start your job, learn the language, learn to use the language, and I think it'll serve you well. Okay, 2 mindsets that I used to help me raise the standard of my work. And look, the reality is like you should be doing good work either way, but mindset impacts your standard, right? And your standard impacts like the quality. So 2 things that I kind of kept in mind as I was going through my work early on and that I share with my subordinates now. 1, prepare your deliverables for your boss's boss. I don't know why it is. It's not that when you prepare for your boss, your deliverables should not be of the highest quality or caliber. But just when I started thinking about it in terms of my boss's boss, it put a little bit more pressure on me, and it made me just a little bit tighter in terms of like getting the deeper insights, thinking about the why, formatting really well, those types of things. And then the second thing is just remember what you're being paid, or like the price of the deliverable. Like actually think about the dollar value of what it is that you're creating, implementing, doing, and so on. Because I'll just take a consulting example because I think it's really straightforward. If I go to a client and they're paying me 100K for an assessment, and that assessment is coming in the form of a PowerPoint, like that PowerPoint needs to be worth 100K, right? And if you're not in consulting and you're salaried, think about what your salary translates to when you think about the hours of time that you're putting into a document or a project or whatnot. And like make sure that you're providing that level of value for the company. Yeah, that's the mindset essentially. And maybe in a similar vein, well, this one's gonna mislead, so I'm gonna skip this one now. This one's for the manager video. But okay, so early on when you start, be humble, just observe, take amazing notes, find your value add, learn the language, and then raise the standard for your work. Just thinking about, the actual dollar value of what it is that you're doing, and then also preparing deliverables for your boss's boss. Cool. Let us move into relationships. And I think, you can hear like network and this and that. Like, I guess a good place to start is just to touch on the importance of relationships. One, I mean, it's the obvious stuff, right? When you build relationships, you are essentially building a network of people that can help you upskill, that can help you, that can provide SME expertise when you need it, that can sit for you on promotion, that can keep you sane because you just need you need someone you can vent to at work and like that kind of stuff, right? Like you need a couple work friends, in my opinion, because you're spending so much time there. So I would say relationships are quite key. And the other point that I'll make here is, again, you don't know what you don't know. And I've had experiences where I met someone on year 1 and ended up working with them on year 4. Or I met someone on year 2 and then I needed SME expertise on year 3. So as you go build relationships, you might be like, well, I don't know why I'm meeting with this person. For now, your goal is just to get to know people, to get a little bit of FaceTime, and to understand what they do. That's it. Over time, how those relationships and which of those relationships you will leverage and will become like sort of key to your career is a separate question, and it's something that'll get revealed with time. Don't worry about that for now. So the first tip I would say is, when you're at the company, especially that first year, like just reach out to people and say, hey, I'm new. Can I get 15 minutes to chat with you? And they may move around the invite if they're particularly busy, but like eventually you will get those 15 minutes. And it's really important to do that, because that initial FaceTime, even if nothing comes from that conversation, that initial FaceTime helps cement like a positive first impression, so that when you actually do need something from them later on, or when you continue to interact with them later on, you can build on that first thing, right? And for the entire first year of my job, I would reach out and say, hey, I'm brand new to the company. And that seems ludicrous because a year in, you feel like, hey, I'm not new anymore. But what I would say is, people, again, have been in their career for decades, have been at that company for decades. To them, a year is a blip. It's totally fine to say you're new. Yeah. And also, I think a lot of people have an inclination to reach too high when they're networking. Not that you shouldn't reach high. You absolutely should, right? Go for the CEO, go for the senior folks, the partners at your firm, whatever, the VPs. But don't ignore the people that are just 1 or 2 levels ahead of you, because the senior folks, they'll carry weight, they'll pull you into projects, they'll do X, Y, and Z. The people that are 1 or 2 years ahead of you, they know what your role is more deeply than the people that are really senior. And they can advise you on, here's the things that you'll need to learn in the next year. Or if you need help on something, those are the people that'll help you. So as you network, don't just think about the really senior people. Think about people that are 1 or 2 levels ahead of you as well. Please, for the love of God, research people before you show up. This is tip number 2. I don't know why some people feel like it's creepy to like look people up on LinkedIn or something. Please, please, please look me up on LinkedIn if you're going to schedule time with me. The reason for that is because it will help you refine your questions and get to second order questions as opposed to second level questions as opposed to first level questions. So like, instead of coming on a call and saying, hey, what do you do? Which is just awful question. You can instead say, hey, I saw that you started at this company in this role and you've moved up into this role. Like, how has your role changed over time? And that will give you a perspective on what you need to be doing now, what they're, and how to grow into the next more senior roles and so on, right? Or and it shows the person that you took the time to actually do the research. You came prepared, and it just makes a much stronger first impression. And it's 2025, guys. Like, everyone knows LinkedIn exists. Like, just do the research. You know, it's not creepy. It's the exact opposite. It's like something that I'm always very grateful for when someone shows up prepared. And another example of that, instead of asking about work-life balance, you can say, hey, I saw that you have this hobby and I'm just wondering like how you make the time for that, given your busy schedule as a director. And like that, again, shows that you did the research. And now if this is the type of person that likes to talk about their hobbies, like you've injected some energy into the conversation by bringing up something personal that they're excited about. And you can say, if you know, say that you saw it on LinkedIn, if you're worried about being creepy. But the other thing, you know, the only time you'll be creepy is if you're like fact dropping everything that you read about them. Like, keep it within context, keep it reasonable, but do your research for sure. Come prepared. Okay. Third tip, keep track of everyone that you reach out to. So these are all kind of like in the same, you know, we could call this 1A, 1B, 1C. Reach out to people for the first year, say that you're new, get that FaceTime with them, research people before you show up, and then keep track. So I had an Excel spreadsheet that had name, role, how I met them, what they do, what we talked about, and fun facts. You know, and that could be like they have a family, they went mountaineering in Nepal or the Himalayas, wherever. Like, whatever those fun facts are, like, put them down. And then you just have that record. And as you get to know the person better, you'll understand, is this a person that likes to talk, like go straight into work? Do they like to hit on personal topics? But it essentially serves as a memory that you can use to sort of prepare for your calls again in the future, right? And even what we talked about is really important, because you can say, hey, last time we talked about this, and it shows them that there was value add from your conversation together, that kind of thing. Okay, so that was that. The next thing in terms of building relationships is showing up for meetings 2 minutes early. This is funny because it sounds like a punctuality tip, a professionalism tip. But what I've found actually is, like, when you show up for meetings 2 minutes early, not everyone is going to be there, right? And also, you haven't started the meeting time, so you don't necessarily need to or even want to go into the meeting topic because you want everyone to be there. So you can use that time to build your relationship with folks. You know, ask them about something that you need help on. I'll touch on the Ben Franklin effect later, right after this, but you can ask them for something you need help on, ask them about their kids, whatever. Like, use those 2 minutes where you show up early to just build your relationship with the person, as opposed to showing up exactly on time and then now you go straight into the meeting, or everyone's present, so you don't have that time for like that intimate, like, one-on-one or one-on-two sort of connection. Okay. The last thing, and I think you can't overstate this. This is so important, and it's just like, it's incredibly important, which is to make your boss look and feel good. Like, understand, in a lot of corporate structures, there is a hierarchy, and we'll touch on promotion later, but your role is essentially to support your boss, whether that's, whatever, your direct manager, essentially. And so the way you can do this without it being cheesy and sort of like political is to find opportunities where you can inject meaning and purpose into it, right? So an example of making them feel good is, hey, director, I am struggling with this topic. I know you have years of experience working on this thing. Can you help me better understand X, Y, and Z? Go have that conversation where they can lend you their expertise and teach you something as a way to make them feel like an expert and to help you upskill. This borrows from this reflects the Ben Franklin effect, which is that people like you not when you do things for them, but when they do things for you, because then they feel like they've invested in you, and that creates that sort of personal bond, or that connective tissue that makes them like you more, basically. Another example of making them look good is if I'm working on something and I'm on a call, if I came up with an idea, let's say, and I'm on a call with my boss's boss, I will sort of defer to them, like, this person had this idea, or this person helped me refine this in this way. Give them credit, essentially. And sometimes you're giving them credit for your work. It's fine, because they know what you did. They're the ones that will go to bat for you, that need to go to bat for you. And so just make them look good. You don't need to look good to your boss's boss. You need to look good to your boss. And by extension, you will look good to your boss's boss, because your boss will tell their boss how good you are. This is getting convoluted, but I feel like I need like a whiteboard or something. But just learn to defer credit, learn to leverage the Ben Franklin effect, make people feel good, understand your manager's style. Are they someone that when they say, I want X, Y, and Z, you have to do it exactly X, Y, and Z? Are they happy to have you push back? That kind of stuff, like, cannot overstate the importance of understanding your manager's style as well, and sort of catering to that style a bit. And look, it can be frustrating, especially if it's someone who wants you to do things exactly how they want you to do them, because now it feels like you're not using your brain as much, and it's like you don't get any creativity or autonomy in your role, which again is really frustrating. But what I would say is the wrong way to approach that situation is to push back a bunch and like try to fight it. A better way is to do things exactly how they ask for it, build credibility over time, and then credibility and trust over time. And then once you've established that with them, you can start to, create a little bit of wiggle room for yourself. Or if it's someone who in the long run, like, is just not flexible, is not invested in your growth, then find a new manager. This goes back to the career as a tool thing. And that finding a new manager, if you're at a large company, it might mean you can switch to a different team. If you're at a smaller company, it might mean switching to a different job. This is not something you need to do at the first sign or immediately, but just think about your career and be intentional, if that sort of autonomy is important to you. Okay, so we've talked through early performance. We talked through relationship. I'm going to touch on promotion. This is getting long, so I don't want to go too deep into it, but just two pieces. One, as you think about promotion, performance is table stakes. Do not think that doing a good job is going to get you promoted. The rest of it comes down to the fact that how promotions work is people need to sign off on the business case for getting you promoted. It's not, oh, I'm doing this job and so I should be promoted. It's, I'm providing value. It is worth it for them to promote me, either for retention or because it gets you access to more opportunities, or it makes you more efficient with your job. Sometimes having the title will allow you to go have different types of discussions, that kind of thing, right? And so keep in mind that people need to sign off on your promotion. And so performance is table stakes. Politics are a part of the game. Like, you just have to play politics. And politics can sound like a nasty word, but really what I'm just saying is get the face time with people, make sure that they know you're going up for promotion, and then have the right people in your corner. So the right people being, I would essentially say, three types of people. One is a champion. This is the person who's going to put you up for promotion, usually your direct boss. Two is someone with weight. Go to someone senior and just make it known that you're going for promotion. If possible, have them connect with the person who is championing you so they have an understanding of why you're going for promotion. And then you'll have, like, we'll call it acquaintances, which is people who will help sign off on your promotion. They're not going to push back because they see value in you. They want to be a part of your career. And that type of thing. They're not going to put you up for promotion. They're not necessarily like heavyweight where if they say something, other people will listen, but they will be a part of your case and effectively not get in the way, which is surprisingly important at times. Okay, the second thing is just speak up. If you're going for promo, make sure people know you're going for promo. Why? Because that empowers them to put you into roles where you can show that you're at the next level. It empowers them to plan your path to promotion with you. One of the best things you can do is if you're going for promotion, first, make sure that the champion, whoever you want as your champion, is comfortable with you going for promotion. But then 2, sit down with them and say, okay, these are the 2 to 3 things that I need to hit in the next 6 months. And if I hit those, I think we should make my case. Do you agree? And let them say yes or no, align to a plan, and then go execute on that plan. And, you've now essentially created something to hold them accountable to, which may or may not be necessary, depends on the person, right? How willing they were to make your case in the first place. But just make it be known that you are going for it. Do not hide it in the back of your head or think that, oh, I'm performing at the next level. I'm doing the role that I would be doing at the next level, and therefore I'm going to get a promotion. In fact, depending on the company and the culture, it could be the opposite. They might feel, oh, this person's doing this role already. Why would we pay them more for it? Which is a bad mindset. That's how you lose people, but it's just the reality of the situation, right? Okay, this is over 30 minutes, so I'm going to just do a quick recap and then wrap it up. So your career should be a tool that you use. Do not let the tool stress you out. Make sure you're using the tool appropriately to craft the lifestyle, the impact, personal development, financial situation that you want. Your career will happen over time. Don't rush things. Work, do a good job, take the opportunities as they come, look for opportunities, but don't feel like everything needs to happen all at once. And take advantage of that. Use that to create work-life balance and just to live a more holistic life. When you're starting early in a job, you don't know what you don't know. Sit back and observe for the first 3 months. Any task that gets handed to you, do it really well, but sit back and observe. Take amazing notes. Look up every word you don't know. Learn the language, and then find the value add. I think I mentioned that. I definitely mentioned that. And then raise the standard of your work. So just prepare deliverables for your boss's boss. If you're executing on a project, think about the dollars going into the project and what the outcome should be, that type of thing. In terms of relationships, reach out to people for the first year. Just get 15 minutes, get a little bit of face time. You don't know who you're going to end up working with in the long run, or who you're going to connect with and continue to build a relationship with in the long run. So just keep a broad network early on. Research people before you show up. Keep track of who you've talked to. Show up for meetings 2 minutes early. Use that time to build your relationships, and then make your boss look and feel good. Cannot overstate this. It is just so important. Okay. And then in terms of promotion, performance is table stakes. Play a little bit of politics. Get your champion, get your heavyweight, get your acquaintances in place as you're going for promotion, and then speak up. Make sure it's known that you are going for promotion. Yeah. I think that's it. I'm done yapping. 33 minutes for a corporate new joiner that's a full meeting that you could have taken. So hopefully this helped. Reach out if you have questions. Otherwise, get out of here.